Hello, this is Megan.
And this is Mark.
Welcome to our 18th video of the Stars Line construction at Disneyland. Today is February 3rd, 2018.
To start it off, a crawler crane is lifting a blower to the top of the Millennium Falcon show building. This type of blower is called a centrifugal blower, and it consists of a metal housing and a blower wheel. And through centrifugal force, the blower wheel will push air through the ducts of the HVAC system. Here it's being lowered to the top of the building. If we slide to the right, a worker is welding a support beam for the staircase of the Battle Escape side building. Now if we look inside the building, we can see that metal studs are in place to create walls within the building. On top of where the caves are going to be, steel beams have been installed on the wall surface, which will be used to support the rock work once it's added. This worker is adding metal to a beam structure for the rock work. Notice that he has a level. He's placing the level on the side of the new metal piece to make sure that it is properly positioned. Next, he's welding the new metal piece to an adjacent beam. As this worker continues to weld metal framing together, another worker is sorting and organizing beams before they're put into place. If we look behind the Battle Escape, the side beam structure is increasing in size. This is what it looked like last week, and I'll dissolve the picture back to what it looks like now. Now we are on top of Tarzan's treehouse. And in the distance, the crawler crane located on the right is lifting another blower to the top of the Millennium Falcon show building. It is being lowered. If we look at the rock work on top of the Battle Escape, workers are putting shape to a new concrete layer that has been put onto the rock arch. Next, we'll go down to Tom Sawyer Island to see this rock arch from that perspective. They're continuing to do concrete work on and around the rock arch. I'll zoom in. Here are workers adding concrete to the mesh forms. As the worker continues to add the concrete, additional workers are putting shape to it by using hand trowels. Now they're putting shape to the top and the side of the arch. If we look up, a beam is being lowered. And it's being lowered right behind the arch. Next, the crane cable is detached from the beam. Behind the trees, another beam is being lifted. and the beam is being put into place. Alright, we'll go ahead and compare this area to the Star Wars Land model. Located in the middle of the picture is the rock arch. And on the right side of the arch is where we saw the workers add and put shape to the concrete. Also, the new beams that we saw added will be used to create this rock structure behind the arch. Next, we'll go on the Matterhorn and see the developments from that perspective. Here we can see that the spacecraft up against the rock formations has new paneling on it. This is what the spacecraft looks like on the model. At least, we think it's a spacecraft. Disney hasn't announced exactly what the structure is. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. And this is what it looked like 1 week ago. From this picture, we can see the structural framework of the spacecraft. Now, I'll dissolve the picture back to what it looks like today.
Today is February 8th, 2018.
On the side of the Battle Escape Show building, more of the staircase has been built. If we focus our attention to the top of the building, more framework is being lowered, which will be used to create rock formations. And it's being lowered close to where the rock arch is. Looking down on the ground level, a metal housing and mechanical parts have been brought in. I'll go ahead and highlight them in yellow. First, we'll look at this one. This part is a metal housing, possibly for ductwork. And notice the writing on the plastic covering. The first line says Alcatraz. This is interesting because the code name for the Battle Escape attraction is Alcatraz within the Walt Disney Imagineering. And the next two lines gives the location of where the metal housing structure will be placed. I believe it says SHT 380 or SNT 380, which is probably the exact location in the building where it'll be placed. And EXTQ probably stands for either exterior or extension Q. That is interesting. Here a telehandler is lifting it into the side building of the Battle Escape. If we look to the left, there are, which I believe, are roller guide assemblies. These could basically be used to guide moving parts in the Battle Escape attraction, such as opening and closing large doors, or used to move animatronics from point A to point B, or even help move large first-order vehicles from one location to the next. However, these will not be used for ride vehicles. So basically, these will assist in moving objects either side to side or up and down. Now, if we focus our attention behind the roller guides, we can see a bearing assembly. Here a telehandler is lifting it to bring it into the Battle Escape Show building. This bearing assembly will be used to provide linear movements of moving parts. And they're also used to keep relative motion in check and reduce friction among the moving parts. And there it goes into the building. Looking more to the left, I believe these units are gearbox motors, although it's hard to tell. If it is a gearbox, it has mechanical gears to alter the speed and torque of the motor. So it'll be used to adjust the speed for whatever mechanical purpose it'll be used for. Now if we look to the right, more beams are being installed on top of where the rock cavity will be. Here a couple workers are putting a beam into position. Notice the raised area. Let's look at the model and see what this area will eventually look like once it's completed. Where the rock formation is tilted up a little bit, that is where the raised area of the beam structure is. Now we'll go back to the beam structure. The workers are continuing to put the beam in position. Now the beam is tightened into place. Here we are in Tarzan's treehouse looking at the rock spires in the distance. And if we zoom in, we can see that workers are creating detail to the rock formations. This worker is adding texture to the rock formation. Notice that he's carving the concrete to create a rough texture. Sliding to the left, we can see that more beams have been added. And the crawler crane is lifting a metal strut for the beam structure. Here it is being lowered into place. Next, we'll go down to Tom Sawyer Island to see this beam structure from that perspective. To the right of the spire, we can see the newly added beams. This is what it looked like last week, and I'll dissolve the picture back to what it looks like today. Here a beam is being lowered. The beams will be used for the structural support for the rock formations. In the middle of the picture, workers are putting texture to a rock formation. A worker is using a brush to add the texture. If we look to the right, a curved beam top structure is being installed. Between the trees, a worker is tightening the beam into place. Next, we'll go on the Matterhorn to see this top structure in more detail. Looking at the middle of the picture, we can see the new curved beams that have been added to the top structure. Let's look at the model and view what this top structure will look like once it's completely finished. Alright, here it is in the middle of the picture. That is really cool. We'll watch this area closely to see it further develop. Now we're at the Critter Country tunnel entrance. We'll go ahead and peek through the fence. A worker has a concrete pump hose. She's adding concrete to the steel mesh that is located up against the wall. Notice the texture on the wall. It makes it look like the wall has wood planks. The wood appearance is actually made out of concrete. It is outstanding. It looks like natural wood. And back in June, we saw workers make a wall similar to this. Let's take a look back. Alright, this is back in June, and here workers are creating a concrete segment to make it appear to be a wood plank. And notice that a level has been placed on top of the metal straight edge to make sure it is precisely horizontal. The worker presses the straight edge into the concrete. Now the excess pieces of concrete are removed from the wall. The worker uses a hand trowel to draw a line where the top portion of the concrete will be. Now he's using a trowel to remove the top portion of the concrete. The worker pushes the straight edge into the concrete. Notice that the workers are holding a rubber sheet molding, which has a pattern on the side facing away from us. Basically, it's a giant rubber stamp for concrete. Next, they're lining up the rubber sheet to the concrete. The worker in the middle is applying pressure to the sheet. Now the sheet is removed. The concrete has a textured pattern to make it look like wood grain. It's amazing how much it resembles a natural wood plank wall. That is outstanding.
Today is February 10th, 2018.
Workers are adding concrete to one of the rock spires in the distance. I'll zoom in. The worker on the left is using a concrete pump hose to distribute the concrete. He's continuing to add the concrete on the other side of the spire. The workers are using hand trowels to put shape to the new layer. Now the worker with the pump hose is adding concrete to the level below. They're continuing to use hand trowels to put shape to the concrete. We'll go on Tom Sawyer Island next and look at the spire from that perspective. They're continuing to add shape to the newly added layer. Next, we'll peek through the fence at the Critter Country tunnel entrance. In the middle of the picture, the wall post has the concrete layer. That looks really nice. This is what it looked like only 2 days ago. I'll dissolve the picture back to what it looks like now. It is amazing. It definitely looks like natural wood. We are on the Mark Twain riverboat. If we look closely between the trees, we have a view of the paneling of the spacecraft. Alright, here's the deserted spacecraft on the model. As mentioned before, we think this structure is a spacecraft. To us, it definitely looks like the ruins of a spacecraft. But we will see. Okay, we'll go ahead and look at different angles of it. Alright, moving along, we can see that more curved beams have been added to the village area structure to create a dome-shaped top. It's definitely coming along. Next, what we'll do is go to the Mickey and Friends parking structure and see what has changed from that perspective. Here we can see that workers are placing a metal sheeting on one of the top structures to connect the sidewall and the roof together. Let's go to Mickey's Toontown to get a different view. If we look to the left of the workers, we can see that insulation has been placed on top before the metal framing is put into position. Now if we zoom out, we can see that the crawler crane is lifting a cage with some parts in it. Zooming in, we can definitely make out what they are. They are part of the interior hull of the Millennium Falcon. That is awesome. Alright, this is a picture of the Millennium Falcon hallway, what it'll look like once it's completed. Notice these segments. They have the same shape and pattern to what is being lifted by the crane. It looks like there's 2 hallway segments in the lifting cage. Here they're being lowered into one of the top openings of the Millennium Falcon show building. As it's being lowered, the cage is rotating. We might be able to see what else is being transported. I'll pause the picture right here. It could be framework for the hallway, however it's hard to tell. This is really cool. I'm getting more and more excited every day watching all of this.
Me too.
Well, that's a taste of things to come.
We can't wait to see what they build next.